Connor's Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. Welcome back to another Connor Unpopular Opinions Degrassi video. This is the fourth in the series. First one had to do with the students at Degrassi basically overreacting to Emma's Orange Ribbon campaign to try to destroy Rick. Number 2 was Paige and Mr. O, their relationship. Number 3 was Sean and Emma, with Emma actually willing to go back to Sean in season 4 despite Sean being with Ellie. And now the fourth video. There's basically a lot of heat on Emma in season 6. Emma had a right to get mad at Manny after JT's death. So in season 5, the story starts. Season 5 is when Manny basically gets blackmailed by Peter. That if Manny doesn't go out with Peter, basically Peter will distribute a topless Manny video to the whole school. Despite the fact that, Manny was doing everything in her power to basically say, Emma loves you, not me. So basically, Peter does it anyway. He wanted cash, Manny couldn't get the cash. And so basically, Manny's video was distributed. She's ashamed of herself. Her parents kick her out because, not only because of the video, but because of the acting and also the money she was going to use for plastic surgery. I figured it was a triple threat. So basically, Emma takes Manny into her home out of sympathy. Basically, Emma and Manny agree that they'll have no secrets between them. But, of course, Emma's carrying a big secret, is that she is actually still attracted to Peter, even though Peter tried to destroy Manny. Of course, Emma actually was going to get revenge for Manny. But basically, she fawned over Peter's shirtless pics. It's like, gee, a man shirtless and all that. It's not as sexually appealing as a woman with a shirt off and all that. Basically, there should be some kind of condemnation and all that. A lot of people said that, why are we putting topless laws towards females and not towards males? But the fact of the matter is, it's all about puberty and all that. So anyway, I digress. Basically, Emma and Manny are in the same place. Emma wants to destroy Manny after Manny told everybody about the fact that Emma had an eating disorder. And also that she was being with Peter. Of course, Emma lost control of her life, basically, after Spike kicked Snake to the curb for his treats with Hatzelackles. Strangely enough, that's Peter's mother. It's the principal. And you're like, Emma's dating Peter? Well, Snake is with Hatzelackles? What? But anyway, yeah, Emma was trying her best to control her own life, but basically it all fell apart. She went to the hospital for an eating disorder. She got back okay, and she seems to be happy. Fast forward to season 6, it's that Manny is still living with Emma. I guess because Manny refuses to talk to her dad, who's very controlling, whereas Manny's mom is basically there for the ride. It's all about being Catholic in the Philippines and all that. Different cultures. But regardless of the fact, you gotta also realize that Manny and Emma were together. Spike and Snake actually went out of town for the weekend. And Emma wants to be with Sean because, she's with Sean after Peter fucked up the relationship. So basically what ends up happening is that Manny decides to throw a birthday party for Liberty. Mostly because Manny was upset over Craig choosing Ashley over her, or Ellie over her. Basically she felt bad, so decided to throw a party to forget Craig. Of course, at the same time, JT was having troubles with Lakehurst because Lakehurst was upset that JT was dating Mia, who was actually the ex-girlfriend of a gang member by the name of Nick. And basically, Lakehurst had a gang and all that. Of course, Mia had a 2-year-old named Isabella, and JT basically fawned over Isabella, trying to be a good dad and all that. And probably just to stick it to Liberty, because Liberty was being controlling as fuck, if you will. So basically, yeah, that was harsh, and of course that turned into things. Emma missed the party altogether. She got drunk and she passed out. She couldn't lose her virginity to Sean. In the meantime, JT was willing to tell Liberty that he truly thinks that Liberty should be his girl, not Mia. And mostly because maybe JT thought that the whole gang situation was terrible, and basically the only way to get out of it is basically by saying, you win, I concede, I won't date Mia anymore. And then you got Drake Lampley, the redhead kid with Johnny DeMarco, peeing on JT's car. JT makes a joke and basically gets stabbed in the aorta by Drake. JT dies, and basically, trouble. Of course, they had an aftermath episode that basically Toby was going to be with Liberty as a relationship. But Toby couldn't do it because Toby had a loyalty to JT so much so that he was willing to break off his relationship with Liberty by basically telling Liberty that JT was actually wanting to be with Liberty instead of Mia, and the whole fact. I know a lot of people said, Toby, you could have kept your mouth shut, but Toby did the right thing. It's kind of like Emma with her cause in season 4 with the Rick Murray situation by protecting Rick from beatings and all that. She was perceived to be hypocritical, but Emma said that you're not really helping the cause out and all that. Yeah. So, regardless of what happens, Toby basically did the right thing. But, the next episode, I forget what one it was, is when Emma and Manny are talking about things, and Emma actually finds out that Manny is talking to her parents, and her parents basically want Manny to come home in the wake of this JT trauma. Emma wants Manny to stay with her, I think to guide her through this situation, but Manny says, I've got to go home. I think Manny was sick of being in Emma's business and all that, so basically, I think she wanted to do her own thing. Emma seemed peeved. Throughout that episode, Emma basically seems to want to destroy Manny. All that. I know Emma was upset that Lakehurst killed Degrassi and not killed JT and all that. It was their fault. But what drew Emma's ire from that is basically Darcy, who was a former Lakehurst student, basically said that, yeah, Lakehurst is bad and all that, and basically says, Emma, we need to figure out the worst is that Lakehurst was in a cheerleading competition at Degrassi, which actually fanned the flames because, if the competition was at a different school, maybe Emma would not have had inklings. But with Lakehurst coming on Degrassi's turf weeks after JT died, that blew her dander up. I mean, and adding more to the fact is that Manny blows off Emma to be with somebody. Manny says, I'm busy with all this stuff for Spirit Squad and whatnot. Worse is that Manny was dating Damien, who was the student council president for, guess what? Lakehurst. And that just added more fuel to the fire for Emma. Emma is basically mad. She's basically mad at the fact that Manny would date somebody from the school that killed JT. Of course, people try to tell Emma that, you're going overboard with this. But basically, Emma won't stop until everything's possible. So basically, Emma starts a movement for the Degrassi students to chant, go home Lakehurst, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a feud between the two schools. Manny is upset that Emma would ruin their cheerleading competition. I don't know what the hell happened to the cheerleaders. I think Degrassi got DQ'd and so did Lakehurst. Snake basically yells at Emma. Emma says, but they killed JT. Snake says, that's fine. We all knew all that. We're trying to move on. It's fine to grieve, but you're basically taking your anger out on Manny. And of course, at the end, Emma shows Manny the spot where JT got stabbed. Manny said that basically, we're great friends, but you always try to make me the bad guy. You were making me the bad guy, and I know you were upset. You're upset about this JT stabbing, but you can't make me the bad guy. Emma says, well, I guess every time I try to make you the bad guy, it fails. So for me, you got to be thinking that, and then Emma and Manny don't really hurt each other anymore as friends. I think Emma finally learned the true value of friendship. But was Emma right in trying to get mad at Manny? She had a damn right. Because it all came down to simplicity, if you will. Emma was willing to be with Manny. Emma wanted help. Emma basically was guilty that JT died in an unsanctioned party right in front of her house. And Emma probably wishes that never happened. Emma probably felt guilty. And I know she felt guilty about the party because, you know, having someone die steps from your house, who wouldn't be upset by that? She still had grief. She had PTSD that got manifested in itself. Remember, she caught PTSD from the Rick Murray situation, and now she's getting more PTSD on top of that. Maybe Snake's treats with Hatzilakos triggered something in her for PTSD, but who knows? But this did trigger something. And I mean, Emma wanted to be with Manny for one main reason. Because she thought that Manny would be a good person to talk to. Remember, when Emma had the problems with Rick, she didn't have Manny at first as an ally because Emma pissed off both Manny and Liberty by trying to destroy Liberty and Chris's relationship. And that's why Emma didn't have many friends, and Emma tried to be in Paige's clique, but Paige's clique turned on her because Emma was protecting Rick. I think Emma basically was hoping that Manny would help her deal with this situation, and so Emma probably didn't have to go to a professional. Methinks that she probably had to go to a professional after that. Basically, Snake put her up to going to treatment and all that. But I mean, you know, Manny's a key ally. They live in the same house at the time, and basically, yeah. Emma thought that she could talk to Manny, and they could share, and they could talk about how JT's death affected them. And Manny basically blew her off, first by moving back home with her parents, and then basically just not being there for Emma when she went in. Emma just desperately wanted Manny to be there for her. Emma probably thought that she couldn't open up to anyone. She could try it with Snake, but, you know, not happening. There's also another theory I have, is that basically Emma got a lot of repercussions after the unsanctioned party led to JT's death. Although I think Spike and Snake probably would have gotten a little bit easy because, you know, they didn't figure that Lakehurst was going to kill JT. But maybe Emma was mad that maybe Manny got some repercussions too. But maybe Emma was thinking that Manny was running away from the repercussions, leaving Emma high and dry and being in trouble. Although it was never told, if anything, Emma got in trouble for that party. I think basically, you know, and who knows, maybe Emma was upset that Manny never took responsibility for the party. Or maybe Manny did take responsibility for the party and talk to Snake and Spike. But if Manny didn't, then Emma probably feels that Manny was trying to be chicken and basically get herself out of trouble. And that's not good for anybody at all. So when it comes down to things, it's like, did Emma want Manny to go get in as much trouble as Emma did? Well, Emma technically was the responsible one. So basically, I think they would have gone mad at Emma more than Manny. Who knows? But when things come down to it, it's like, you know, Emma couldn't help herself. I mean, she wanted Manny to help. She wanted to talk to Manny about this whole JT and Lakehurst stabbing and all that. And I think if Manny made time for Emma, Emma wouldn't have been so pissy-possy, if you will. But, you know, also the fact that Manny was dating the student council president of Lakehurst. It's one thing that Manny wants to dump off of Emma, basically not talk to Emma, but when you date the student council president of the school that killed JT, you can't blame Emma. I mean, Emma saw red. Emma basically said that this is a stupid move and all that. And, you know, Darcy, I think Mia also said something to the point that why this stuff. Because, you know, Damien was actually good friends with Drake Lampley. Of course, I have to say the last name because, you know, Drake being Jimmy in Degrassi. Sorry, I have to choose something. But, I mean, yeah. I mean, and it's like, Lakehurst got away from stabbing somebody. Why is there no repercussions? Well, there had to be. Drake put in jail for life because of what he did. Johnny might have gotten in trouble because he was an accomplice, but I think Johnny basically was a stool pigeon on Drake. And, you know, maybe Nick, you know, the ex-boyfriend of Mia, maybe Nick got in trouble because Nick might have had inkling sending people to make trouble for JT, and then that happened, and Nick could have been in prison or probably put on parole. Who knows what happened to Nick. But I mean, yeah, you got that. And Lakehurst coming in a competition to Degrassi, that's also things that, why are we letting Lakehurst into this competition? I mean, yeah, they deserve it, but it's at Degrassi, and some students probably have bad feelings towards the stabbing. But it turns out that this episode basically pins Emma as the only one who was willing to take matters in her own paws against Lakehurst. Everyone moves on. Emma couldn't move on. And I think because of the Rick Brody situation, she had troubles moving on from trauma and all that. It took her a long time to move on from the trauma of Rick pointing the gun at her for her to calm down. And basically, you know, after Dracula and all that, admit she needs help. So when you look at things, it's like Emma was mad. And you can't blame Emma for being mad, because if Manny was willing to help Emma out with this JT situation, I think Emma would have been calmer, cooler, and maybe she wouldn't care too much about the cheerleading competition at Degrassi if Lakehurst coming in. Think about it. Emma had a right to be mad at Manny. And everything was basically, you know, things add up over time. You know, Emma lost Manny as a roommate. Like, she moves back home. Manny doesn't have time for Emma, it seems. Lakehurst is coming into a competition at Degrassi, you know, the school that killed JT. And, worst of all, Manny's dating someone from Lakehurst, the student council president at that. And everyone says, oh, Emma is basically overreacting. I doubt it, Snake. Emma had a right. And I think Emma probably told Snake everything but why she was mad at Manny and all that. And maybe Snake lightened up a bit. You never know. Everyone was pointing fingers at Emma, saying that she couldn't let this thing go. But what can you do? I mean, a kid gets stabbed by rival school, stabbed from your house at a party that you weren't really supposed to throw, and Emma had the guilt. And Emma probably felt guilty that the police were going to basically get her in trouble. She probably was worried about repercussions from the police. But Emma changed her tone. I mean, she wasn't heavily involved when Lakehurst moved in to Degrassi in season 7 because of a fire. Maybe she did have something to say with it, but I think basically that the school basically didn't want Emma to get involved because of what happened with her trying to destroy Lakehurst in the name of JT. I know Emma basically didn't help JT as much, but she couldn't get over the guilt. Deal with it. That's my opinion, and that's what I'm sticking to, so screw you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a good day.